Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh man, I apologize for being late. I was having some computer issues, so I think I'm getting to that point where it's time to put the investment into a new computer. But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, going to get right into this. Not going to wait too long. Don't want to. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, especially already being almost 10 minutes late. So again, I apologize. And if you're watching this on replay, make sure when you check it out that you respond with replay. Let me know that you are viewing via replay. Hey Jose, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you stopping in. So I'm going to get this started. Again, I am Keith K.L. Belvin, Crisis Specialist. And what I attempt to do daily is to help solve the problems that people may have, is to try to lift their spirits and to try to help them solve whatever may be wrong at that moment. And we try to put some planning together. This is what I do. Under that umbrella, I write books, I speak, I mentor, I counsel, I do therapy, whatever is needed for me to try to help others. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And tonight, I want to answer any questions that anyone has, and whether you're live or not, just, any questions that you have. I want this to be interactive. I don't want you just listening to me. And so, and Jose, how you doing tonight, bro? How's it going tonight? Because as you know, I am a former New York City Department of Education educator for over 20 years, who now lives in Delaware and is doing family therapy. And I am working with various families dealing with children who are in crisis. But when I looked at, or I saw the other day, early in the week actually, that the CDC regulations have been circulating. I did a live on that the other day, but I must say this. I really have to say this, is that the information that's going around right now is not the complete CDC regulations. It is a moshed together version, and you may see it look something like this. I had it on my page, and so Facebook flagged it, and then it made me take it down. This is how you may see it on some of your pages. And the reason why I took it down was because when I saw that Facebook flagged it, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate hearing that. All right? I am glad you're okay, my brother. Because it's hard out here, man. And, it seems like the minute we think things are getting better, they tend to get worse. But we're balancing it, and I'm glad that you're okay. But and this goes out to anybody, and again, if you're watching this on replay, the purpose is I want to have dialogue. I want to have questions on if you're sending your kids back to school. So that's the first question. Despite the regulations, would you be sending, hey, Ms. Bancroft is here. Hello, Ms. Bancroft. Good evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I am glad I got a couple people here so we can have a conversation. So Jose and Ms. Bancroft, are you sending your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, if you have children, or if you have children who have children, depending on what the situation is, are you sending your kids back to school? Because I'm going to read some of the regulations. Well, I listed them the other day, but I want to read the actual regulations the way it should be read, and that way we can be as informed as possible. Because I want educators, and I want daycare owners, I want folks who deal with kids on a regular to try to offer their expertise to parents. So please chime in anytime. Put it in the chat. If you're for right now, with as much as you know, how are you feeling? Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you so much for being honest with me. And I think a lot of people are that way, Ms. Bancroft. I'm gonna call you Angela if that's okay. If it's not, then just put Miss Bancroft in the chat. But Angela, I think that's where a lot of people are. Oh, you have to go to work. Okay. I feel you, Jose. Well, you can definitely tune in later, Angela, and I'll definitely keep this going, and you can definitely give me your thoughts on anything that you hear later on, if you get a chance to listen at work or when you come back in. And Jose, I appreciate that, bro, because I'm with you. I'm not sending KL back to school regardless right now. Okay, thank you, Angela. I appreciate that, Angela. I'm not sending my daughter back to school under the current circumstances because I'm not trusting the way information is being hidden from adults, from parents, from other government employees. And anytime you got that many lies going on, it's hard. Now, I want to read you. I'm not going to read this one. This is the one that was up the other day. This is the one I did on my live. And you can go back a couple of days, and I went through each one of these. Each one that you have seen on some of your other pages, the new CDC regulations or whatever. I went through each of those on a live a couple of days ago. You can check that out. But what I want to read you, this one I went back, because like I said, after Facebook flagged me, I went back and I said, you know what, I want to make sure that I'm giving parents the proper information. And Angela, you saying that you're not sure makes it even more important. So this one here you can find on the CDC website. And I just want to read you a little bit of what it says and get your feedback. Okay, schools during the COVID-19 pandemic. The purpose of this tool is to assist administrators in making reopening decisions regarding K-12 schools during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is important to check with state and local health officials and other partners to determine the most appropriate actions while adjusting to meet the unique needs and circumstances of the local community. Okay, so we have that. That's the preamble that is put out there for all the administrators. And it's always a good thing that parents get the same information that the principals are getting, because you need to know what the principals are dealing with. So if you're with me, just give me a number one that you're with me. I'm going to go on. Just throw up a number one in the chat room. That'll let me know that I'm still connected to you and you can hear me, because I'm going to read through this here and explain to you that it is a yes or no chart, meaning that if it's no, you go in one direction. If it's yes, you go in a different direction. So if you can hear me, just put a 1 in the chat room. All right. Should you consider opening? That's the first line. I was saying I have to work, so I feel unsure about. Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. And you know something, Angela? I'm so glad you said that, because I said that earlier. I said that earlier this morning, because when I was talking about who handles the crisis, who deals with the crisis with the common man or woman, I just say common man, is because people don't understand the stress that a mother may be under. And I said this earlier about single mothers maybe having to go to work, that things are opening, but then who's going to watch the kids? Thank you. I got you, Angela. So me and you going to rock out tonight. I know Jose's there too. So me, you, and Jose going to rock out tonight. So here's the first line right here. I'm going to read it to you. So this way, got you. Thank you, Jose. I'm going to read it to you guys. So this way you can get exactly what the CDC is saying. Okay. Hey, Jacqueline, how we doing, darling? Another number one. Like that. Okay. Here we go. Should you consider opening? And these, again, is what the administrators have to consider before opening the schools. Should you consider opening? Will reopening be consistent with applicable state and local orders? Is the school ready to protect children and employees at high risk for severe illness? Now, those two right there is going to come down to the government of each state. This is why I have an issue with some of it, because we already see that some of the governors are moving flaky if they're connected to Trump. So if they're moving flaky at the top, what kind of orders are you giving these administrators? So right there, will reopen if consistent with applicable state and local orders. Is the school ready to protect children and employees at high risk for severe illness? Are you able to screen students and employees upon arrival for symptoms and history of exposure? Okay, right there, I want to read that to you again, and I'm going to explain something to you that I think is real suspect, and I want you to pay attention to it. Are you able to screen students and employees upon arrival for symptoms and history of exposure? Any no, go down. It says do not open. If you get a no to any one of those three that I've read, the school shouldn't open. Okay? And it says if all are yes, move on to the next area. But I want to go to that last one that I read. Okay? Let's say The school is following the local orders. The school is ready to protect the children. We know we're going to sanitize everything. Here's the thing. Are you able to screen students and employees upon arrival for symptoms and history of exposure? Now, they just said yesterday that tracking symptoms is not the best way to see if somebody is sick because of asymptomatic people. So, and children are asymptomatic. Other people are asymptomatic. And what does asymptomatic mean? It means that you do not show signs of any illness. We already see that children aren't showing any signs of any illness, but when they're testing them, they're coming up with antibodies showing that they did come in contact with the virus. Now, if that scares you like it scares me, throw a number 1 up, because that lets me, because I'm scared with that. Because now we're leaving a school to check our children out. I'm a little iffy with that. And as an educator, I'm not coming in the building and submitting myself to any type of screening, because I'm not trusting what you're going to do with that information. How are we screening? Are we just taking temperatures? I'm not comfortable when we start asking schools to play doctor. Now, give me some feedback. Hey Madeline, give me some feedback with that. Like, if you have any, what's your thoughts on that? Because I personally don't want schools playing doctor. If you don't have, well, let me hear what you guys think first before I give you what I think. Because that's an issue for me. That now we're going to get them off the bus and start taking temperatures. What happened if a kid has a regular cold? What happened if a kid has a toothache and it has a fever? What's your guys' thoughts? And if you have nieces, nephews, if you have your own children, if you're taking care of somebody's children, if you have grandchildren, this is important, because screening efforts, and now how are we screening? How are we taking the temperatures? And if they think that's it, I'm not with that. So please put your thoughts in the chat room now. So it says if all 3 are yes, and it says if all are yes, we move on to the next box. So let me move on to the next box for you. Madeline, thank you so much for coming in. I'm going over the CDC rules that they gave out to administrators to what they should follow if they're going to open up schools. And we just went over the first line. There's 3 different areas, and each one has to be a yes before they open up. Okay, so I just read you the 3 real quick, and it says, should you consider open up if you're following the state orders? If you have a way to make sure you're protecting everybody that's at high risk, and the one that I just mentioned, are you able to screen students and employees upon arrival for symptoms and history of exposure? How do you know what their history is? How do you know what any child's history is unless you sit down and now you start trying to get this information from them? How do you know what my history is? And why should I give the school that type of information? HIPAA allows me to keep my information private between my doctor and I. So I'm not comfortable with that. But if all are yes, we move on. Now, if all are yes, are recommended health and safety actions in place? Are recommended health and safety actions in place? The first one, promote healthy hygiene practices such as hand washing and employees wearing a cloth face covering as feasible. Second one, intensify cleaning, disinfection, and ventilation. Third one, encourage social distancing through increased spacing, small groups, and limited mixing through groups if feasible. Train all employees on health and safety protocols. If there's any no, then go back and meet the safeguards first. That means go back to the next one. And if they're all yes, move on. Now, let me go over those again with you, because again, I don't know if you're seeing the holes, and if you're not, I'll show you. Schools are, thank you. See, there you go. There you go. How are they going to, thank you, Madeline. And that's what I mean by seeing the holes. And this is why we, as educator and parents, and this is what parents have to talk about, this is what daycare owners have to talk about. We all have to have these conversations, because Madeline, that's one of the holes that I was just about to mention. How are we supposed to do this? And then what happens if we find that a kid doesn't meet that criteria? So that kid now might have exposed himself or herself to everybody. So what do we shut the school down now until that kid gets tested? Do we force that child to get tested? Do we force that staff person to get tested? Screening sounds okay, but they can't screen everything then and there. A high temperature is not the only. Thank you. There's another. There it is right there. And that's why we have the conversation, Angela. We have to be able to figure out where the holes are, because administrators are going to try to take this, and this is where it's very, very important. Now, I've worked under some very nasty and negative principals, and I've worked under some very good ones. In the 20-something years, I worked under 13, I think I did this math with a friend of mine, I think 13 or 14 principals. Out of that 13 or 14, only about 6, I would say, are extremely good. The other one needed some work, and some were just downright nasty. So now we're going to leave that into the hands of them. Let me see what it says. I want to make sure I get it all. We have people that have the COVID-19 and have no feet. Thank you. That's what I mean by asymptomatic, Jose. Exactly right. Hey, Shanine. Simply put, this isn't going to work. Thank you. And this is why we're having this conversation, guys, because there's people saying it is. And they've already started with slowly opening up the country. And I've said this before. They're opening up the country due to economics. I don't think they're caring if certain people are dying. So holes like Swiss cheese. Yes. Okay. Very true. Thank you, Angela. Okay. So let me go through the 4 real quick. And this is the second one right here, because if it's yes, we move on to the second one. This is where we're at right now. I don't know if you can see it. If you can see it, just throw a 1 up. And again, the reason why I asked you to throw the 1s up, it lets me know that we're on the same page. Okay. Go back over the second one real quick. And again, if you see the holes, toss them out there, because I'm going to give you mine in a second. As recommended, health and safety actions in place. Promote healthy hygiene practices such as hand washing and employees wearing a cloth face covering as feasible. So now that teacher has to wear a mask all day. Okay. Intensify cleaning, disinfection, and ventilation. If you've ever been in a New York City school, you know they do not breathe, because the windows open from the top for safety reasons, and they're old buildings. They do not breathe. They do not let air circulate. The few classrooms, thank you so much, Jose, the few classrooms that have an AC, they're old, and they do not change the filters in those ACs like they should. So anytime you're in a New York City school, you'll see the teachers with fans. Those rooms do not breathe. So now we're going to have kids, ask them to wear masks. But actually, it doesn't even say that the kids should be wearing masks. Now, check it out. Intensify cleaning, disinfection, and ventilation. Encourage. It doesn't say it must. And this is why I'm saying the president is leaning on the CDC. Now, I'm going to tell you why. I'm an HIV counselor. I counsel during the HIV time, right? Thank you. No central air. Thank you, Angela. Now you're seeing the holes. I counseled during the HIV, and I was teaching health during the HIV crisis. I was teaching health in the late 90s, helping kids understand what the HIV crisis was. I taught during the swine flu and during West Nile, right? Okay. The CDC put out clear guidelines. Must wear a condom. Must get tested to know if you're HIV infected. This one here, and this is where you can see the effect of a president who's trying to swindle you. Encourage social distancing. We already know that everywhere around this country it says demand, like you must social distance. You must wear gloves. You must wear a mask. You see how they changed the language so principals can play with it, city officials can play with it. Encourage social distancing through increased spacing, small groups, and limited mixing between groups if feasible. First of all, some of the schools are old, and thank you, hey Auntie. Thank you, Auntie Jeanette. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. If feasible. First of all, teachers have to work in small groups. It's part of group learning. It's part of the way teachers are supposed to work. So now we're going to put kids in small groups with no real way of testing them, and then put them in a classroom with a teacher like myself who might be in their 50s, who may be at risk for getting it in a bad way. How do we do that? And like Angela just said, no central air. So if we're circulating the same air all day, and then teachers are wearing masks, and if we're making the kids wear masks, which we should, that means all day you're breathing in your own CO2, or if you decide to take it off because you're 6 feet away, you're putting all that into the air in a classroom. You're increasing your chances to get this virus. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, so now it says the last one is train all employees on health and safety protocols. So when are we going to do this training if they're trying to get ready for this year? That means they're going to either make teachers come back early, which the unions are not going to allow, or when they come back, they're going to have a flash training. Hot 2 days, this is what you do, boom, keep it going. That's one problem. Second problem is schools are underfunded as it is, especially in urban environments. And I worked in Brooklyn. all right, and up in Harlem. So if you're working in those environments, right? Okay, guys, teachers, we already know Trump cut teachers being able to claim the money that they use for school supplies. So now, where are teachers supposed to get the hand sanitizer from when they can't buy it, when you can't buy hand sanitizer anywhere? Where are teachers supposed to get the extra gloves? Where are teachers supposed to get the extra face coverings when we already see that nurses and doctors are struggling to get PPEs? So where are they supposed to get this on a regular basis to be able to protect our children? The schools are already over. Thank you. Hold on. I want to make sure I get everybody's comment. Let me just go back. And thank you, guys. Just put them in. If I miss, I'll get it. Let me just go back. Okay, got you. So Shanine said the schools are already overcrowded. How are you distancing 6 feet apart? Thank you, Shanine. I talked about that the other night. And how do you get the little ones to stay 6 feet away when they've been home for 6 months? The minute that they see their friends, they getting up in each other's faces. And how do you keep a mask on the younger kids when you can't even keep their clothes on, their shoes on? Each table should have a plexiglass for protecting each student for their kids coughing, sneezing on each other. Now that was in the old one, Jose, where it said that. But I got to go back and look and see if the CDC said that that's a requirement, because that was in the old one. But I think they pulled in P's 28 plus children per class. How are you going to practice safe distancing? Very true, Madeline. In New York, the contract says you can have up to 30 kids, especially in the middle school. So you know that's a problem. Jeanette said, yep. And Shanine said, that's why I just asked. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay, so thank you, guys. Keep it going. I love it. I'm going to try. And if I miss anybody's comment, please excuse me. I'll make sure if I don't, when I go back, I'm going to respond to everybody. Now, this one here says, the CD says, if everything that I just read is yes, right? If everything is yes, move on to the last area, right? Okay, here we go. If ongoing monitoring in place? That's the question. Okay, so if everything is yes, we move to the last one. Here we go. Develop and implement procedures to check for signs and symptoms of students and employees daily upon arrival as feasible. Thank you. Turning schools into prison. You know, I'm going to save that one. Oh, I got to put a star next to that one, Madeline, because I got a whole thing. Let me write that. Well, you know what? Remind me in a second, just in case I forget, because I got a whole thing with that, because that goes to this one here, which I got off the CDC website, but I'll read that to you in a second. Let me read the rest of this from this last one here, if everything is yes. Okay. Develop and implement procedures to check for signs and symptoms of students and employees daily upon arrival as feasible. Encourage anyone who is sick to stay home. Shouldn't that be anyone who's sick, stay home? So encourage. What if I say no? What if I'm a teacher and go, I'm not sick, I'm not staying home? And because of HIPAA violations, I don't have to give you my medical history. I'm not sick. I'm okay. So what are you going to do? And if I refuse to take your temperature? So there's a lot that has to be worked out. Number 3, plan for if students and employees get sick. Now here's where they start trying to cover themselves legally. Plan for it. And remember, this is what goes out to the principals. This is what every principal is working on right now, trying to figure out how they can get their school in a position to get these kids back in school. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I'll get to all of that in a second. Now, the next one. Oh, excuse me. The next one, number 4. Regular communication and monitor development with local authorities, employees, and families regarding cases, exposures, and update the policies and procedures. And the monitoring you got to be careful with, because they got to do tracing. So the minute that they think somebody is sick, they're going to start trying to trace the family and everything else. You wind up start having folks coming into your homes that you might not necessarily want inside your homes. You got to be careful of it. But let me read everything and then we can talk about it, guys. Number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, monitor students and employees' absences and have flexible leave policies and practices. Okay, if you're sick, we're going to let you go home, but we're going to monitor how many times you've been sick. Last one, be ready to consult with local health authorities if there are cases in the facility or an increase in cases in the local area. If any one of these are no, then meet safety guards first, which means if any one of these are no, you can't open up your school until you've met all these criteria. And then it says, if all of these are yes, right over here, then it says open up your school, right? It says open up and monitor. Now, guys, as parents, every one of you here are connected to children in some form or fashion, whether it's your own children, whether it's your grandchildren, whether it's your nieces, your nephews, whoever. Listen to me. All right, let me see what we got here. I just want to see if I missed anything. Shanine said, just curious, with all the technology, why can't they implement virtual classrooms? Thank you. Thank you. Now, Shanine, that's 100% correct, because they're dropping trillions of dollars. They could actually do it. But you know what the problem with that is? Then you would have to make sure that every child has the access, and they don't want to do that. Because in urban areas, it is going to create a problem if they try to create virtual schools, because now you have to go in and make sure that kids in less lower social economic neighborhoods have the technology to get on. And then how do you monitor it, and how do you keep it safe? So they're going to argue that if you put these expensive, or if you do these changes in urban environments, ghetto kids are going to tear them up. That's always their excuse for not putting things into the neighborhoods. So they would rather drag the kids into the school. Guys, I am telling you as an educator, I am telling you as a 20-year educator who has worked with high school students, middle school students, and elementary kids, which was my last year before I left New York, this will not work. And I'm going to tell you why. Now go with me, and if I'm wrong, by all means, if I'm wrong, all right. Anybody that's just coming on, I am Keith K.L. Belvin, and I am a crisis specialist, and we're talking about, would you send your kids to school under the CDC regulations, which I just read. And if you're just getting on, you have to go back and look at them. So we have Angela, we have Shanine, Jeanette, Jacqueline, Jose, Madeline, all here in the group and being active, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys that are listening. Okay, go with me here. I've been in the classroom 20 years on all different levels, right? So I'm going to go through each grade, and I'm going to show you how some of this ain't going to work. Let's go with the high school kids first. Okay, first of all, you're going to get high school students, right? Okay, let's go with New York City, which I know extremely well. First of all, how are you going to social distance the kids and get them through the metal detector, right? So now you got kids that's going to be lined up outside the building. Hey, Lynn. Oh, Lynn has worked with me at one of the schools. Hey, darling. And so we're talking about, would you send your kids to school under these current requirements? And I'm going to break down right now high school, middle school, and elementary schools. And I'm going to tell you why these plans won't work with this current virus the way that it is. Okay, high school kids. If you just take the metal detectors that kids have to pass through in high school, right? To space kids out by 6 feet to come into the building in the morning, you're going to have kids going around the block. Now, who's going to be outside watching those kids? Thank you so much, Angela. Who's going to be outside watching those kids to make sure that they stay 6 feet apart? Which means they're going to be collecting in groups. They're going to be happy to see each other. Now, going through the metal detectors, who's going to stand up at the metal detector to make sure that somebody is checking the kids? Because if the buzzer goes off, they now have to warn them. They have to check them, which means you now got to get close. So now, kid doesn't have a mask, you send them home. So now you're going to demand that the high school kids wear masks. Let's be real. Yes, we can make the demand, but if they don't, we now sending them home. We sending them out into the community. Also inside the classroom. It was just said earlier, New York City schools are not built for you to space the kids out inside the classroom. They're not. The rooms are not that big. I just said that the other day when I did the live. They're not that big for you to space. You could maybe take 10 kids and space them out 6 feet. Now, go with me on this. And I said this the other night. Let's just go with 10 kids. Kid number 1. 6 feet away is kid number 2. 6 feet away is kid number 3. Okay, that's 3 kids who are 18 feet from each other. Kid number 2 is 6 feet over. 6 feet over, 6 feet over, 18 feet back. That's 36 square feet right there. It's not going to work. You do not have that much room in any school. Middle school kids who may not have metal detectors. But if you're talking about New York City kids, they're traveling on New York City buses. So how are they going to social distance themselves on New York City buses when they have to travel along with essential workers, mothers and fathers who have to get to work? And if anybody has traveled in the morning between 5:30 and 8 o'clock in New York City knows that every bus is crowded. So now how are you supposed to social distance the children through that to get to the school and then have them come in? And then what happens during breakfast? How do you social distance them during breakfast? Are we not going to give them breakfast now? Or they get breakfast in the classroom? And again, how do you space them out in the classroom? How do you keep them from banding together? How do you keep them from being in groups, which is what they love to do? Outside of the building. We haven't even talked about before they come into the building. That's another question. What time are children getting? Thank you. Staggered coming in, staggered going home. Who's doing this for the children? And Lynn can tell you, because she's worked with me at the last school that I worked with before I left New York. Dismissal will be crazy, because if you're trying to dismiss the younger kids, now I'm going to get to the elementary kids. If you're trying to get elementary kids, one, to line up 6 feet away, it's impossible. Two, if you're trying to get elementary kids onto school buses that now you're only going to use half of the school bus because you got to space the kids out, you now either got to have more people that's going to be doing dismissal as well as more buses. How do you get the kids to wait that long? So even if you stagger it, that means you're having a lot of kids in motion. How do you ask those volunteers? How do you ask those folks who are helping with dismissal to get those kids on the bus? And if y'all have any suggestions, any questions, but now, fire away. I'll answer any questions that you may have, just thinking about your own situation. So let me run down. Okay, so we got Lynn here. Tell you what, run down the states that you guys are in so I know where everybody's at. I'm in Delaware right now, but let me see. If you're listening, let me know what state you're in. Because I'm talking about New York right now. But here in Delaware, just the buses is going to be an issue. And I've been in a couple of the Delaware schools. I don't see it. Now, the schools are bigger down here. They're definitely bigger, but I don't see it. Unless you're going to start taking up the cafeteria, the gym, and other things like that, I don't see it. I just don't see. And what about the older support staff, the older teachers? What are you doing there? Okay, so we got Lynn from Brooklyn, which I knew. Anybody else? Where we got people from? Let me know where you're from because that's important too. So Colorado. Okay, so Madeline, what do you think is going to be one of the issues in Colorado? Because that's Midwest, I believe, right? Brooklyn. Okay, Jose. Yeah, I got you. So Madeline, what do you think it's going to look like in Colorado? You guys are taking the school buses to school, correct? So what is it going to do? How do you think that's going to look in Colorado? It's not going to work. Thank you, Lynn. And Lynn, you know how crazy arrival and departure is from the school that you're at, where your daughter goes. And shout out to your lovely daughter and her courageous work that she did this year. So has done so great. That's a credit to you as well. And if y'all guys don't know, I worked with Lynn at the last school where I worked at in Brooklyn, and I loved working there, but I had to move my family to Delaware. But if I was going to come back, I would have come back to work with the school. They suggested single seating on the bus and every other seat, I believe. Where's the extra transportation coming from? Where's the funding coming from for all the extra staff? Thank you, Shanine. And Shanine, where are you located, Shanine? Did I miss where you're located? Did you tell me? Because that's a great point. Where are you? We got Colorado. We got 2 people from Brooklyn. Where else we got? And that's so true. And you're welcome, Lynn. And Lynn does a tremendous job. Let me tell you something about Lynn. Lynn is outside greeting every kid who gets off those buses. She always has a smile. And it can be very hectic because you got to make sure the right kids get on the right bus, as well as you got parents bringing their kids. So how are you supposed to screen the parents who just dropped their kids off? Their parent could be bringing the COVID and dropping the kid off and leave, but now you left that there for somebody else. Sometimes we as parents and we as educators, we have to talk outside of the administration and just do some very sound thinking and just run the numbers through our heads. Run the numbers through what we do and stop and think. Okay, Shanine, you're outside of Savannah, Georgia. Okay, so what's that like where you're at, Shanine? Because in Colorado and Savannah, I believe it's like a lot of school buses, right? Because I know you just mentioned about the school buses. But what's the size of your schools like? Because I haven't been in any schools in Georgia. I've been to Georgia a couple of times, but I haven't been inside the schools. Same thing with Madeline. What are the schools like in Colorado? Do you guys have big schools there, smaller schools? Like, what are the schools like in your areas? Because I believe Jacqueline is in North Carolina, and I know Jeanette is in Queens. Who else we had? Let me see. Angela. Is Angela still here? Did we lose Angela? Angela, where are you at, Angela? Let me go back. I know we had Angela here. Who else did we have? Let me see. Let me just go back because I know we had a couple people here. So by all means, let me know where everybody is at, because these are the things we got to talk about, guys. And as a crisis specialist, this is what I do. And this is what I try to figure out. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, Madeline, because I just said today when I posted, who offers the mental help to the common person? Because I work with a lot of folks, and I just had a young lady today book a session with me because she's like, Mr. Keith, we got to talk, because she's a nurse in New York and she's struggling, but she's doing the best she can and she's doing well. And that's another thing too. By the way, anybody who needs, I'm in a small town, Ludowici is one high school. Ludowici, and I know I just chopped that up. One high school, one middle school, one elementary school. They are bust. Okay, both large and small. Also several private schools. Okay, I appreciate you guys for sharing that with me. And that's important because please understand, this is when you're really going to have to lean on your local leadership. Call your community workers, call your district, call your mayor, and have them put pressure on the administrations and let them know that no, this is unacceptable. But make sure you go to the CDC and you can get this. This is schools during the COVID-19. It says right here, cdc.gov. Let me see if you can see that. cdc.gov/coronavirus if you want to get a copy for yourself, and you can just read that for yourself. But the schools are nice size because there is only one for each. I got you. And listen, guys, let me tell you something. I'm scared because they got to start doing tracing. And what tracing means that they're going to actually start. You actually did. I tried. Thank you so much, Janine. I tried. That name it caught me a little off guard. I always try to get the names right. Same thing with my students when I was in the classroom. But you really got to lean on the folks around you, because I'm scared with the tracing, because it opens up the door for people to want to try to get into people's houses. And we already know that we had secret ICE agents out here trying to find folks to arrest them and everything else. We can't let that happen. Yes, KL, didn't I tell you to knock when my door is closed?
Well, I need my phone.
No, you have your tablet. Go get your tablet. You do not need your phone. Go get your tablet. Thank you. See you later. See you later. KL. KL. Close the door. Go get your tablet. Excuse me. Go get your tablet. Close the door. See? And so she's going to go to school and actually stay 6 feet away, and I'm fussing with her at home. No, but what I'm scared about, guys, is because under a health crisis, administrations like the one that we currently have can use as an excuse to get around certain laws, to get into people's homes and see what they're doing. Administration-wise, won't even enforce. Oh my gosh! Well, you know why? Because you have a Republican governor who is loyal to Trump, and what I've noticed is that all of the Republican governors are very laxed on wearing masks and other things like that, and so people are literally dying from it. And this is where you really got to get at local leadership. You have to get at local leadership. You have to get at superintendents. Please pay attention to when your schools are going to have virtual meetings. Attend those virtual meetings and make sure that your voice is heard. Make sure that you take names and numbers, because right now it is May. But administrators are hard at work right now trying to figure out what they're going to do for a September opening. Don't get it twisted. They are trying to open up in September. They are trying to get kids into school because they do not want to lose any more money. I'm with Shanine. Virtual learning should be the way that is going around the country, but they're not doing that. And I know because I pay attention to it, even though I'm not in the school system, and I'm happy about that, and I'm sad about it. I'm sad because I know I was very effective when I was in schools, but I'm happy because I don't want to be at risk when I've been quarantined here in the house the last 8 weeks. 9, I think it is, this Sunday. You lose time. You lose dates and times. But with the kids that I counsel, I stopped going into homes the second week of March. And I have agreements with all my parents, and I do my crisis counseling via telehealth. So this bothers me. And I'm so glad that you guys are giving me feedback, because here's what I want you to take back to your circles. Have these conversations. Have this very conversation. Use this video as a conversation starter with the people in your circles. Get people talking. Get the names. Yes, thank you, Auntie. We got to get the names of the people who are, get the names of your borough, your town, your local person, and write letters, call, and say, hey, listen, I just looked at these CDC regulations. What y'all doing? What's your plan? And we want to know it. Get your PTA presidents, get anybody that's connected to schools, make them have to give you information. Make them have to return to you something. They got to tell you something. Because here's the thing, if you don't have nationwide testing, if you can't say that a million, let's say the town that Shanine is in, and I'm not going to try that name again. let's say the town that Shanina's in has 20,000 people, and they say we were able to test 17,000 of that 20, and we only see that 3% are infected, and that infected area was in this part of the town. Okay, that gives you a little better idea that other parts of the town are okay. It may not be completely safe, but are better, and now you can travel into those. But with schools, guys, let me tell you something. Please listen to me. They do not know enough about what this virus does inside the body, and I want you to go look this up. You don't have to take my word for it, right? So before I say this, let me make sure I got everybody here. Give me a 1 if I still got you. Let me see who we still got on. I just saw Shanine post. I saw Jeanette post. Give me a 1 if you're still here, that you're with me. Because I'm going to tell you something that about children that I really want you to pay attention to, and it's very important. So I want to make sure I got everybody listening. Just throw a little 1 up that you hear me, because I want you to know something about this virus with children that they have not been talking about, but they really should. Okay. Now I'm going to at least let me get 1, and then I'll see what's going on here. I want to make sure I got everybody. It says I see everybody is responding. Okay. I want you to look up, and actually if I can, I'll do it. I want you to look up Kawasaki. Hey, Brother Ronell is on. Hey, Brother Ronell. I got to give you a call, bro. Hey, there go the ones. Thank you, guys. Brother Ronell, appreciate you, bro. There we go. Thank you, guys. Here's what I want you to do now. Please listen to me. I want you to go and look up Kawasaki syndrome. Okay? It's very rare. Kids, it's not usual that kids get Kawasaki syndrome or born with it, but it is something that kids get. Kawasaki syndrome. Okay? I want you to go look that up. Now, thank you so much for the ones. I see Marsha, I see Jacqueline, I see Angela. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. I want you to go look up Kawasaki syndrome, because there have been, that I know of right now, and I'm going to do some more research, 100 children, 85 in New York, 15 in New Jersey, that have come down with COVID, and it appears to be a Kawasaki syndrome type reaction. Hey, Bernice. Hey, Queen. Hey, Angela. There we go. Okay, got you. It seems to be 100 kids got infected with COVID under the age of 18, and it took on a Kawasaki syndrome-like behavior in the children, which means very difficult to breathe, inflammation of the lungs, fluid inside the lungs. They had a nasty rash all over their body, as well as being in tremendous pain. They have not talked about it, and the reason why is they know that the minute that they start about children, and thank you, Shanine, for mentioning it. I'm glad I'm not going crazy, because I know I try to pay attention to everything, and I don't pay attention to the regular news. I try to listen to a little bit of everything, and I do my reading. Now, here's why this is critical to anyone that has children, so please pay attention. That means that this has taken on a different... You must stand and speak up to protect your children. If you don't care about it, then thank you so much. I just said it to a fellow educator yesterday. If one child dies, every adult that's connected to that child has the blood on their hands. Now, let me get back to what I was saying. If that's true, well, no, not that it's true. Here's what that means. 100 kids. Not everyone, I think, of the 100, 8 died. So some recovered. But here's the thing that's important. That means the children are showing a response to this virus that's different than the adults. That means either we have a mutation on our hands, or whatever the kids have been exposed to in terms of this virus is treating them or affecting them differently. And if that's the case, that means we don't know how fast or how bad the infection rate could be when you start to put other children together with those children. So the idea of trying to open up school when we have a new player in the game is dangerous. Guys, you don't have to believe me. Do the research. I'm just trying to bring it to you so you can take it to wherever. We got Colorado, North Carolina, we got Brooklyn, we got Atlanta, or we got a town outside of Atlanta, and I'm not saying that name, but we have enough here that you got to start these conversations. Because look up Kawasaki syndrome, and then look up children infected with COVID. And I'm telling you, the reason why they're keeping this quiet is this reason. First of all, we know that New York was the hub, and we know New York went through God knows how many deaths, and I know personally because I'm dealing with over 29 29 people that I know or their families that I know are dealing with this death that are no longer here, as well as close to 100,000, which will probably have 100,000 before we reach June 1st. 100,000 with over 1,000,006 people infected. But you notice that they don't mention children. And they don't mention children because they know if they do, it'll cause you to be terrified. It'll cause parents to lose their mind. They know that if they mention children, parents will never bring their children back until you give them a vaccine or sureties that everything is being okay. Listen, guys, listen to me, okay? And I'm being very, very serious. We have a president who doesn't care about children, because we have children who are still on the border under the ages of 10 whose parents have been taken from them, who are suffering from mental digression, meaning that you have seen 5 and 6 years old resort to sucking out of a bottle because their brains have been messed up by not having their mom and children. Open up the schools carries the potential to kill and tie. Yes, thank you, Madeline. That is so true. And I just want you to start, and I want to paint this picture for you. Think of the children that you think of, your own children, and think of your nieces and nephews. Now imagine putting them in a cage with 10, 11, 12, 15 other children, and you put a law in place, you cannot hug them. And you're okay with that. That's what this administration did. Now they want to rush and open up everything. You see this fool is talking about, let's open up the churches this weekend. Well, here's the danger with opening up the churches. The 2 largest cases of one person infecting other people happened in Korea. One woman infected 93. And right here in the United States, one person infected 45. Because any one of us that have been in church all know ain't no room. And they pack them in the pews. And we all know that churches do not have the best ventilation. And if you just do some simple research, you will see that a lot of people connected to their church by not following these orders have gotten sick. And a lot of people have died. Now I want you to fast forward that to September. They're going to now try to tell us, once this virus dies down because of the heat of the summertime, and it should, that right at the start of flu season, the end of August, going into September, with the change of seasons, going into fall, and every one of us that have children know, every one of us have children that know that when the season starts to change, everybody's nose starts running, all the little colds come in, right there between the middle of September all the way through to about November. And all of a sudden now this virus may show itself again, and we're now going to put our children in school under the precautions that you just heard me read? Not me. So let me hear from anybody here. What can we do, guys? What can we do other than what I brought up just now? Because I want every one of you to share this. But let me give you this. Let me give you this, what you can do. All of you here know that I counsel. I counsel privately. So if any one of you need to meet with me privately, just reach out. Reach out in my inbox, or you can always just go to my website, bit.ly/Coach Keith, and set up some time with me to sit down and talk. So if you're not sure, or you know somebody, and I'm going to put it in the chat right now, but if you know somebody that you thinking, you know what, you need to talk to this man, I'm here. Because the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to save lives. Because I'm sorry. There it is right there. That's how you can reach me. I just put it in the chat. So if you want to set up some private time, or it goes back to, I think it was Madeline that talked about the mental health. That's something I'm big on. I'm trying to help folks that most people don't think about. No one thinks of folks on the low end. And what I mean by the low end is no one thinks of the common worker. No one stops and says to the common worker, what about you? No school, no church. Thank you, Bernice. I appreciate that, because that's how I feel. But no one is thinking of our mental well-being. No one is saying, what about the moms who has to go out to work and worrying about her children? The father who his regular gig, he has to go out here and fight. Like, I'm looking at these meat workers, the workers. Hey, Sarah, and I hope I got that right. Good evening, welcome. Glad you're here. I'm Keith K.L. Belvin. You missed a lot, but I'm glad that you're here. Please make sure that you go back and watch the replay. And make sure when you go back and read the replay, put your any questions, anything in. I'm going to come back and read the chat for everybody. Oh, okay. Excellent. So you know what? I'm so glad that you're here. So you teach high school. And did I say that right, Sarah? Did I get that right? Because I hate messing up anybody's name. Did I get that right, Sarah? Is that how I pronounce that? Because I want to ask you a question as a high school teacher. Because Sarah, when I was teaching on the high school, I was a dean in high school, and I already know how difficult it is. Now I was saying, now what state are you in, Sarah? What high school? Where's your high school that you teach at? What state or where are you located? And this is something, guys, I want everybody to share this. Get this out to all your people and make sure they have this conversation. Make sure that we're engaging, that we're talking. Make sure that we're really sitting down and I'm sorry, you lost the no. Trying to figure out what which is the no located. But make sure that you're getting Senora. Oh, Sonora. Okay, I got you. New York. Okay, cool. So I was just talking about the metal detectors. Like, how do you social distance at the metal detectors and keep the kids? Who's going to be outside with the kids? Oh, Freeport. Okay. Okay, so out on Long Island. So you guys have metal detectors out there like they do in Brooklyn? Because I remember when they interviewed me at Brentwood, they told me they had a little gang problem. I was like, yeah, okay. What's a little gang problem? That's like being a little pregnant. Ain't no such thing. You either pregnant or you're not. You either got a gang problem or you don't. And the guy said, well, I'm not going to lie to you. We do have a gang problem. I said, man, I'm not traveling all the way out here when I got to deal with the gang problem in New York. I'm good. But you guys have metal detectors at your school? Because I think it's important, and I'm so glad that we have somebody else, because I know Lynn, my connection is bad. Okay, so just chime in when you can. Tell me what you think is going to be your biggest, what is your biggest problem with the idea of return? Okay, no. What is your biggest fear, concern with them now talking about opening up schools in September as an educator? Because I know we had Lynn on who works in the school, and anybody else can answer that question. If you're working with kids or you work in school or you're retired, by all means jump in. No metal detectors. I got that. Okay. So what's your biggest concern? And anybody that can answer this question, what are you guys' biggest concerns? Let me hear from you guys now. You done heard me rattle on for a couple minutes. What are you guys' biggest concerns with the idea that schools are going to open up in September? Let me know what you guys, what's your biggest concern for your children or your nieces, your nephew, your grandchildren? Whoo, yeah. Big schools, 2,300 students. And how do you social distance 2,300 students? Thank you so much, Senor. That's 2,300. I think the most that I dealt with, we had 3,000 or 4,000 at Canarsie High School, but I only had the second floor. They broke the school into four what's the name? And that's when they broke Canarsie up. So we only had, I think, 1,000 or 800 or something like that. The rest were downstairs in the other three schools. But yeah, how do you social distance 2,300? How do you do that? And how do you feel about going back into the classroom, Senora? I have 30 students and it's impossible. Thank you. And that's what we talked about earlier. Confirmation. All right, Jose, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Make sure you like and share this. I know you always do, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Thank you so much, Jose. I appreciate you, man. Have a good night. All right? Say a prayer for me, and I'm going to pray for you as well. And Senora, that's something that I just mentioned earlier, that it's impossible, because I just said with 10 kids, to space them out 6 feet each away from each other, classrooms aren't, not in New York, classrooms are not built to do that. And I've had 30 kids as well. So when I'm just in my mind thinking, how do you space out 30 kids in classrooms that are not designed for that? How do you do that? And then where are you going to position the teacher to be able to be safe when he or she has to be able to travel around, see what's going on? I don't get it. And as a former dean whose job it is to consider how to keep the discipline in large schools, I don't want to go. It's not safe. Thank you. And I just said earlier, in a nutshell, the major concern is the spread of this thing and the health of our children. This thing will never get under control like that. Thank you, Shanine. I'm so glad you said that, because I'm hoping that more people have conversations. And Senora, I think I'm so glad that you said that, because I said earlier, I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm happy that I'm not having to be there to go through it, but then I'm also sad that I can't be there to help out, because I loved what I did when I was in the classroom, and I loved what I did when I was in the school. And just the idea that my fellow brothers and sisters who are teachers have to be stuck out here on this island, a lot of folks don't understand the pressures that are put on educators to produce. Staggering arrival and dismissal, that works with getting them there, but even if you stagger it, where are you getting the bodies, and how do you space that out? And then how does the whole day look? Because at some point, all 2,300 will be in that building. At some point, every one of those kids will be in that building wearing a mask all day. Exactly. How do you get the kids to wear it? Like, I'm thinking of the semantics as a dean. If I got to be out in the hallway, now I got to police. What happens when a kid says, damn that, I'm not wearing no mask? Now we're suspending kids who don't want to wear a mask. And if their parents now have to go back to work, who's home with these kids? And just the traveling back and forth. They could have tested negative the day before, but now got it the next day just traveling on the buses back and forth, especially city kids, especially kids who are taking public transportation. And then you're asking teachers to wear masks all day. And then you're asking everybody to be in a building that's not ventilated. Now, I think Madeline talked about Colorado, and Shanina talked about in Georgia with the smaller schools. This is going to be a problem all over the country, guys. Oh, okay, there we go. Madeline just chimed in. Let me read that. I already know my teenager granddaughter and her friends are going to hug. Thank you. Shit. Thank you. Thank you. And that's why I don't understand how folks are acting like all of a sudden. And I think you guys mentioned prison. You mentioned prison, Madeline. And I think, and how does the curriculum suffer from stack? Oh my God, we have a hard time getting. Yes, thank you, Shanine. I can answer that question. And Senora, you're right. It is. Uniform, it's hard getting them to wear their uniforms if they have uniforms, and wearing their IDs if they have IDs. And then on top of that, now getting gloves for everybody, masks for everybody. And then, you know, with most school systems, they don't want to supply anything to the teachers, so they got to do that themselves. And Shanine, I can tell you, as somebody who has written curriculum, the hardest part is that they're going to pass that off on the teachers. And that's normally what happens. That's where, if you got a so-so principal, they're going to say to you, figure out a way how to deal with this half, and then when this half come in, you got to do it this way. But then you got to give me time to clean my room, because what I didn't talk about is with high school and middle school kids, they're moving from class to class. So who's coming in to clean down a whole room? And if we start spraying Lysol on stuff, you now create breathing issues. Do folks understand how many children, especially in New York, have asthma? And now we're going to start lacing the building with aerosols when they already don't breathe. And as mentioned earlier, there's no central air. Yes, budget cuts have destroyed everything. And I think, and I'm so, great point. And this is what has to be discussed, because these are your arguments, guys. These are your arguments. And again, let me just say to you, if anybody wants to have a private talk with me, and if anybody needs any type of private counseling, make sure you reach out, bit.ly/Coach Keith, because mentally I know this is difficult. And I know a lot of you are under a lot of stress. Reach out. It's a free call to see if we can set some things up, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to figure out how we can fix this. Because we have to fix this. We can't rely on the government. We can't rely on anybody else to try to fix this for us. No one is, thank you. And that's why we actually have to, hey Kim, that's why we actually have to be very, very diligent on the pressure that we apply on the leaders around us to make sure we are safe. And if you're just chiming in or you just got in, we were going over the CDC regulations. I read them all. And discussed what has to be in place for a school to open. And we talked about it. The only way to do the test, the results are immediate and easy, such as a swab. Everyone tested every day is the only way. Yeah, but you're not going to have the funds to be able to test every day. And then what about parents who don't want to get tested, or kids that refuse to get tested? Because remember, we're talking about children. So unless you can come up with a way, because even with a swab, whether you're swabbing their mouth or you're trying to swab their nose, whatever it is, children are going to be scared. Children are going to be uneasy. And then again, what happens if one kid turns up positive? Now you got to shut the school down and get everybody tested, when you should just leave them all home until you have national testing to begin with. See, they're forcing everything open because of the economy, and I understand that. But this is why all that money that's been taken out of all our checks for so many years is supposed to be used to allow us to be home while they fix this. But again, that's a political argument. But at the end of the day, how do you test daily when some states haven't even gotten tests? Hell, some of the essential workers haven't even been tested. They're working in hospitals every day. I know for a fact because I told you I'm working with a nurse. And they just go, if they're not sick, they keep grinding. And then remember, just because we test them at school, we don't know what they might have came across at home. And now to try to test them every day. Now think about that right there. How do we test every school kid every day in every school around the country? It's financially impossible. Vaccines, it's going to take a while. It normally takes a good year or so. And the way that they're rushing to get a vaccine, I wouldn't trust it anyway. And I think you may mess around and have more kids in a bad way with these rushed vaccines. Testing is good, but too little, too late. Our children have been exposed standing in line. Yes. And it's tough, Madeline. And it should be, but we don't know if it is. This president has not. They asked him that question, will it be free? Have a blessed day. Got you. Thank you so much, Shanine. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out. You get some rest. And again, I'll be on at different times, and I'll let everybody know. This is definitely something I'll probably revisit as well as some other things. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I appreciate you. But the vaccine should be free, but they actually asked that question in Congress. Will the vaccines be free? And the answer was it will be discussed. So the Trump administration couldn't even say if the vaccines are going to be free. And somebody said, so does that mean just the wealthy are going to be able to get it? And he said, well, that's something we're going to discuss. God bless you as well. Thank you so much, sister. You have a wonderful evening. What is there to discuss? So you mean to tell me that you're going to have children and other folks out here? And again, this is where the common person needs to be worried. This administration doesn't care about poor people because Trump never did. And I know him from New York. He never did care. And he used to say all the time he had a problem with poor people. He was very insensitive to poor people. And now as a president, we see that. Guys, this is very serious. And I want you to apply pressure on your church leaders, your local leadership, your mayor, your councilman, your congressman. Write letters. If there's ever been a time, thank you so much, Shanine. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, guys, if you need to meet me privately, you want to talk, bit.ly/Coach Keith. I'm here for private counseling because I deal with the crisis part. And it's very, very important. I deal with the crisis part. I deal with the mental health part because I know how tough it is. And some people need to talk in private, and I'm here for that. The first call is free. Just reach out and we'll set something up because we got to be able to sit down with each other and have a way to figure out what we're going to do going forward to protect our children and protect ourselves. Don't get it twisted, guys. A lot of adults are going to get sick trying to make sure kids are safe. Healthcare workers, child care workers, listen, with certain strains, with certain viruses, right? Certain viral infections, and anybody that work with kids know this. Certain viral infections only will affect the adults, and the kids might just have an upset stomach and some diarrhea. And adults will be home feeling like they're dying because of viruses that are passed on from the children to the adults. Now, how are we supposed to handle that, knowing that we may be exposing ourselves if we are educators or caregivers to children who may have brought COVID from home? Where's that testing supposed to come from? And I thank all of you for your responses tonight. Wow, I didn't even realize it's over an hour. Oh, wow. But I appreciate it. I'm going to keep going. Y'all want to keep going? Tell me now. Throw a one up if y'all want to keep this going, because I was about to shut it down. I didn't want to keep anybody on this late. I didn't even realize it was this late. I mean, I'm up. I'm a night owl. I ain't got nowhere to go. If y'all want to keep this going, throw a one up. Let me know where your heads is at. Or if you want to continue this another day, I can shut this down and we can come back another day. Because I know it's late for some folks, and I don't know what everybody has to do in the morning. I never want to overextend myself, because I see it's been over an hour, and I was already late getting on. But I'm going to be praying for everybody. I'm going to be really engaged with trying to do more. I mean, I try to help folks now. It's what I do. It's what my companies are about. But I really am going to try to do more to make sure that I make myself available if folks need to just get the point of view of an educator or a former educator. I am a family therapist now, so I do work with families who are in crisis. And I find that I have to spend as much time working with the parents as I do the children. So I have a little idea of what I'm dealing with. Oh, okay. Oh, I just got him a thank you. But let's continue another day. Okay, I got you. All right. Good night. Okay, so we're going to do, because it's late. I see it's late. Good night, Jackie. All right, here's what we're going to do. I want you to stay maybe tomorrow evening. I just got to check my schedule because I do have another call. I got a couple of calls tomorrow evening. If not tomorrow evening, maybe on the holiday Monday. I'll put some things out to see if during the day is better or in the evening, because I'm a night owl, so I'm up. So what I'm going to do is, because again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I don't want to keep you here. So what I want you to do is I'm going to go back through, and I'm going to read everybody's responses, and I'm going to respond to everybody, because I want to make sure that I at least like everybody's post. But I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in tonight, and make sure that you like this, make sure that you share this, and again, if you need to talk to me privately, if you want to talk to me away from social media so we can sit down and discuss anything that you think is creating a crisis for you, bit.ly/Coach Keith. I'll put it in the chat again so you guys can have it, and then I'm going to get ready to shut this down because we've had a good night. And good night, Senora, I'm sorry. bit.ly, let me get that. bit.ly. Good night, guys. Good night. But stay on the lookout. I will definitely. And what I probably do is come back in and let everybody know on this string here, so it can be attached to everybody. bit/Coach Keith. Okay, and thank you so much. Make sure you like and share. Thank you. I appreciate you, and good luck, because I was in New York City for almost 22 years. Manhattan, Harlem, and Brooklyn, and I put that time in, and I retired early to come to Delaware because I didn't want my daughter to go to school. And so, but my heart goes out to all my educators who are putting the time in. I miss all of you. Before you go, can you tell me a town in Delaware is mixed, perhaps a nice home? Okay, yeah, Marsha, that's a great question. Yeah, I'll give you that. Let me just write this in. I'll answer that question for you. Definitely. You're welcome, Madeline. I mean, I'm not going to jump off directly, so if a couple of you are up, and this is what you do, I'll be on for a couple more minutes. I'm not going to shut it down completely. I just want to make sure I get this in. But I thank all of you, but we're definitely going to do it again real soon. Okay, that's the link to my counseling if you want to set up something. Okay, Marsha, you got, really, Delaware is broken into three parts. It's the North, Central Delaware, and then Southern Delaware. So it really is about how slow you want it. Southern Delaware is considered the low and slow. It's really countrified. I mean, it's really like the country in Southern Delaware. Okay, Central Delaware is slow, and you got a lot of places that are mixed. And then North Delaware, it's a little more happening, a little more moving, but all of it is country. There's only 1 million people in the state. The 55 and over communities in Central Delaware, Kent County, and Sussex County, I think, are much better, but there's not as much to do. Whereas the 55 and older homes up north would probably be more, because you're closer to Philly and you're closer to Jersey. But the 55 and older communities, like the 55 and older community right here where I live in Frederica, I'm closer to Southern Delaware. I moved actually from Dover to Frederica, so I'm right on the borderline of what's considered Southern Delaware. the 55 and older community is fantastic. I have a double wide, which I didn't know that they were this nice. My wife had to actually show me. So, but the other 55 and older communities and the ones that are surrounding, fantastic. And some of them are just great because there's already not that many kids down here, but some of them are tucked away in some very nice, beautiful areas. So Kent County and Sussex. Okay, I grew up in Rochdale. Yes, I'm from. So not too country. Building 10 here, 170-40, 130th Avenue. Yes, apartment 1D. That is where I spent a good amount of my youth years, going right there to IS 72. My sister went to PS 30, and then I went on to Thomas Edison and York College. So yes, I grew up in Rochdale, building 10. I would say also, okay, if you want it mixed, Delaware City, Bear is good mixed. It puts you a little further up north. Newcastle. Newcastle puts you closer to the hospital, Christiana, which is the big hospital and the big medical center where everything is. And so you have Newcastle wouldn't be bad. Bear would not be bad. Delaware City, Townsend, those are all areas. Oh, building 12. Okay, so you're right across, directly across from my old building. And I still got family and friends in 10, 11, and 12. My aunt, who was just on, Aunt Jeanette, she's in building 9. So she was just on. Yeah, my aunt was just on building 12. I know exactly. But yeah, that's my circle 3. That's where I grew up. But yeah, I would say Newcastle, Bear. Let's see. You got a few. You got a few areas in same circle, of course. Yeah, that's my circle. My sister still has her apartment. My sister has my grandmother's apartment. My grandmother had the apartment in '76. We came up in '79, and so she's had the apartment since '76. But yeah, the areas in Newcastle, up in northern Kent is actually, yeah, Newcastle's not bad. Central Delaware is not bad, but the only thing is if you're trying to travel back to New York, you might want to, or it'd be easier to be up north because then you're closer to traveling across the Delaware Bridge. The further south that you come, the further you're away from anything, and then you got to travel up north to be able to get to New Jersey and to get to like New York or Philadelphia. Most people, when they come through, they come over the Delaware Bridge. They go through a part of northern Delaware, like Wilmington, and then they head on, and they're already in Maryland. But what you want to do is you want to look at Newcastle, Bear. Clayton is not bad if you're up north. That's at the other end on the other side of Wilmington. That's not bad. My girlfriend and I can sit and driving down soon just looking. Yeah, it's not bad, but you can actually do a lot of the searching online and do the 3D, the virtual tours, which will give you a lot. But you can look at Clayton. You can look at Newcastle, Bear, Townsend. Any one of those areas in there all have fantastic 55 and older communities. And then the further you come to Kent County, Central Delaware, but there's a lot to do up north and in Central Delaware. It's much slower in Southern Delaware. That's the best way I could put it. And so if you see a couple of areas, and they always have the way it's broken down, the types of people that's there. So again, oh yeah, listen, everybody's scared of Wilmington. I wouldn't advise anyone to live, even though there are a couple of pockets of Wilmington that is okay. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Smyrna, well, Smyrna's further south. That's here near Dover where I used to be at. But anywhere as you come down. Good night, Angela. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We're going to do some more, and definitely stay tuned. I'll be letting folks know ahead of time when I'm going to be on now, and you will see me on live a lot more. I'm going to probably be live at least 2 to 3 times a week, just covering a little bit of everything. And so I'll definitely, I appreciate you taking the time out tonight. But this thing is very serious for me. And I think if I can get some more information on the Kawasaki syndrome, I'll definitely try to come on and do a live about that, so we can, and definitely up until school starts, this will be an area that we're going to discuss. All right, I'll take a look. What do I do with those cards? I'll definitely take a look, because I think I don't have any up north, but let me see. I could have swore I had some cards here. All right, but I'll definitely check for you, and I'll see, because and I'll definitely check with my wife, because I think she has got you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Angela. But I'll definitely check for you, Marsha. My wife has some female friends who are up north, and we'll definitely try to get you some information. So I'll definitely keep that in mind, and I'll send you some information. So, but the 55 and older communities are outstanding down here. I mean, they look lovely, and they're just well kept, because, like I said, there's not a lot of people here in the state, and it's definitely something to consider. And they give you such a discount on purchases. And if you don't have any children, that's another thing, that the 55 and older community, they don't have any children, so the areas are so well kept, and the homes are so nice, and the areas give you a discount, especially if you're buying a house. It's even cheaper in some of the 55 and older communities if you want to purchase the house, or if you just want like the overall setup. They have some great ones here, so I'll definitely take a look at that. All right, guys, so listen, I'm going to go. You have my information. I'm going to go back and look at all of the messages in the chat to make sure I touched on everything. I appreciate you so much tonight. Thank you. Like I said, I will be on 2 to 3 times a week, just covering everything. As a crisis counselor, former educator, author, all of those things, I'll be bringing all that to the table to try to help out, because also I have my Bible study group too. So if that's something of interest, let me know. I have a Bible study group. You can always, by all means, come in. Actually, speaking of that, I got to get the study verses for this week. But if that's something, my children are going, okay, empty nester. Perfect. I'll see what I can do, and I'll get that information to you. Okay, got you. And I'll definitely put it out. But what you do also is, as you start to look, if anything happens to stand out, just, send me a little inbox message. Say, hey, Keith, I saw something in this area. And then I can let you know, and I'll take a look at some of the other areas, as well as I'll speak to my wife and see if we can get you somebody that we trust and that we respect, that can help you out. Or, like I said, anything that you see, whatever, I don't know what your price range, anything like that. Hey, Garden Lake, we'll check the replay. Hey, Kira. Okay, thank you. Listen, we had a good one tonight, and I think you also, as an educator, definitely want to hear from you. So I definitely want you to listen to the replay, and I definitely want you to leave your thoughts to what I was talking about tonight, because you're in North Carolina, right, Kira? I believe, right? North Carolina, or is it Illinois? Where are you located? Because we were just going over some things, and I definitely would love your feedback to it, because we really covered some things that for everybody that has children. So please make sure you guys like and share, please. But I'm going to get ready to go. And again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I want to say thank you. Oh, thank you. No, I am humbled. I will be on again. I'm going to try to maybe come on tomorrow night, if not Monday, and we're going to continue this. I'm going to do some little research to get you guys more information on this Kawasaki syndrome and these children that have been infected with COVID. Fayetteville. Okay, I know it's North Carolina. There we go. And actually, I got a client in Fayetteville. She's an author there. She just moved from New Jersey there. And I've been to Fayetteville, stayed at that hotel, the Holiday Inn, right there. I think it's a buffet, not right around the corner there. It's actually pretty cool for a book event. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to get you the information on this Kawasaki syndrome with these children. Probably tomorrow night. I got another call, and I have some progress reports to do. If I can finish up my progress reports, I'll maybe get on tomorrow night. If not, I might just push it to Monday, and we'll get on and try to get you this information. But I will be on 2 to 3 times a week, because I want to get involved and really get to talking to everyone that's on my page, and would love the support. So make sure you like and you share. And if you need private conversation, I'll keep saying it. If you want to talk in private, all my counseling is discounted now, because it is about the common person. It is about trying to help those that seem to be overlooked by this administration, overlooked by local government, who are struggling to try to make sure that they keep their heads together. And I know from the parents that I'm already working with, I know that it's tough. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm definitely here to help and just to keep those lines of communication open to keep you straight, because we need some. We all need help. As a friend of mine, Glenn P. Says all the time. Glenn P. Jones. Glenn P. I got his name wrong, but says all the time. But as you guys have seen from my hashtag, we can fix this. And I really believe that we can fix the things that's wrong with us, because the help is not coming, guys. The little stimulus check that they tossed us and a little bit, they're not even thinking about regular folks. And rich folks is out here getting richer and poor folks are dying. We're not going to allow this to keep happening. We're not going to allow this to happen to our children. We'll have a conversation about voting in November. That's another live for another night. But I thank all of you. Let me get off again. I keep saying it, and it's been almost like another 10 minutes. But we'll definitely talk. If you're watching on replay, just hit the replay and let me know. I'll talk to you. Have a good night, guys. God bless.